Good morning and welcome to the vlog. Today I want to talk about expectations, both realized and maybe shattered. A common question I've gotten a lot in the comments over the past few videos that I've uploaded is if you lived abroad for 15 years, why on earth did you move back to the US? That would explain some of your struggle. So I want to talk about that, I want to address that, I want to address some of the expectations that I had about moving to the US, as well as how those expectations have now shifted. So I want to go back to 2022, 2021. We were living in Japan, and we loved Japan. My wife was vice principal of an international boarding school, and I taught the IB there. And our daughter was born in Japan, and she was bilingual, spoke both English and Japanese. But we realized that at about the age of 5, that our daughter was we're kind of hitting a wall. And we weren't in Tokyo, we were in a very rural community. And it was a only local school for her, and we both realized that we wanted her to have English education, as we couldn't communicate really with the teachers or even read the homework that she was going to be assigned. So we made the decision to move back to the UK. Job openings opened up for another school in the network that we live in, or worked in, sorry, and we moved back. And it was purely a family move, because my wife took a demoted position, and I was teaching the same thing, but she took a lesser role. And then within the 2 years that we were there, she got contacted about a potential job opportunity that she definitely had to apply for, but it was here in San Jose, California, which gave her an opportunity of being back in administration, and as well as kind of being back on track for her career projectile or growth. So she discussed that with me and said, are you interested or open to it? And at first I was very hesitant, but over time I warmed up to the idea, and in April we made the decision to move back to the US. So the reason why I felt like it was necessary for me to move back after being abroad for 15 years is maybe an irrational feeling, or rational, I don't know, of both shame and guilt. And what I mean by that is over the past 15 years, not necessarily the first 5 years, but the last 10 for sure, I had this overwhelming sense of shame and guilt of being abroad. I felt like I owed my country something. I felt like I owed my family something. And even on the best of days when I was loving life in Japan, I remember waking up some mornings and thinking to myself, what am I doing over here? Why am I here? And that is something that definitely affected my psychology and my mentality. And I felt like moving back to the US, I was fulfilling an obligation I put on myself that no one else necessarily was. So moving back, I expected, and this goes back to the expectations portion, I expected that would disappear, that I would feel like that obligation would be fulfilled, and then I would be back in my home country, and that voice would quiet. And the realization after being back for the past 18 months is I feel more foreign than ever. And I feel like I don't fit in. And that is something that is kind of really put into perspective, that voice that I was feeling, that was irrational. And I guess the family thing was the big one here, is oh, I need to be back home, I need to be closer to my family. And although I'm from the Georgia, South Carolina, I'm currently living in California, it's a 5-hour flight. But even living here in California, I still see my family the exact same amount of time that I saw my family if I was, let's say, living in Japan or the UK. I'm a teacher, I get summers off, so I get to see my family during that period. And it just kind of cemented the idea that, man, expectations that you put on yourself, justified or unjustified, can be really brutal. And I don't know if living abroad, I may be the only one who feels this, or who felt that, of this overwhelming sense of needing to move back, even though I'm established in another country. I did feel it. And that was really one of the things that drove me back here. And I don't know if it was necessary that I had to come back here. I'm glad that I did, because it made me realize that that expectation of feeling whole and complete is shattered. I don't feel that here, which is also why we're moving. So I think, to answer that question, we moved back for career trajectory and put my family back on track of what we're trying to do. And then second of all, the intrinsic motivation of just quieting an urge, quieting a feeling of responsibility that was, I've come to the realization that that was a little bit irrational. And as we move to China in the coming months, in July, I feel, or I hope, that irrational expectation of being back home, of feeling like I had this sense of obligation and duty, I hope that goes away. We'll see. I mean, I'm living in the US now, and I've come to that realization now that it was irrational, but maybe when I get there, I'll feel the same. I don't know. I'm really interested to know if you fall into that same category. Are you someone who has moved abroad? It doesn't have to be from the US, it could be from another country, but do you feel this almost existential feeling of maybe dread or shame or guilt, something that, in the back of your mind that is quiet on some days and is really loud on others, that what am I doing? I remember that so vividly, waking up, asking myself, what am I doing in Japan? I'm an American. What am I doing? So I just wonder, if you fall into this category, if this is something that relates to you, I'd love to hear your comments. I'd love to hear your perspective about living abroad and how you dealt with that. Do you deal with it now, or is this something that you never really felt? And I'd like to know how you overcome it, or if you didn't. And this is something that I'm coming to the realization, is that moving to China, and who knows where my future will be in 20, 30, 40 years, if I make it to 40 years, is this something that will always be there? Is this a characteristic of third culture people? Is this characteristic of people who move abroad? So please like and subscribe if you like this content. We're currently running around and getting our paperwork. Next week, I'll upload a video about what exactly we are doing to get ready for China. It's starting to pick up, and there's a little bit of anxiety that's really starting to creep in. Stay tuned and follow along, and you'll find out about what we're doing. So thanks for the community of nowhere people or everywhere people, and we're in this together.